What makes a Sigma female rise above the rest? Is it her confidence, her quiet strength, or the way she moves through life like she's always in control? You know what it is. It's the way a Sigma female handles herself when everyone else expects her to fold. But guess what? A Sigma female never does. In today's world, there's this type of woman who doesn't follow the crowd, doesn't need validation, and yet she's one of the strongest people in the room. She's a Sigma female. A Sigma female doesn't need to play the social games or fit into anyone's mold. She's not about chasing approval or blending in with the masses. She's about doing things her way, and guess what? That's exactly why so many people try to bring her down. But here's the catch. They fail, and they fail miserably. So why is it that people constantly try to put Sigma females down? What makes them think they can break someone who's already figured out her worth? Let's break it down. It's like they can't stand a Sigma female's independence, her self-sufficiency, or the fact that she doesn't need anyone's approval to be herself. They don't understand why she doesn't need to fit in, or why she doesn't play by the rules, and that's exactly what makes her dangerous to them. But here's the deal. They always fail. Here's how people try to put Sigma females down, and why it never works. 1. They say she's too aloof. People love to label a Sigma female as distant or cold, but all she's doing is protecting her energy. A Sigma female's not afraid to be alone, and honestly, that scares a lot of people. It's the truth, right? In a world that's constantly pushing for connections, for validation, and for constant social interaction, a Sigma female stands apart. She isn't someone who seeks out attention or tries to fit into every group she encounters. Instead, she values her own time, her own space, and her own thoughts. For a Sigma female, being alone isn't a weakness. It's a choice, and it's the strength to choose to be with herself rather than anyone who doesn't genuinely add value to her life. This independence is what makes her different, and that's why people can't handle her. To them, it seems unnatural to be content on your own, especially in a society that constantly pushes the need to be surrounded by people. It's easy for them to misinterpret this choice as a sign of coldness or emotional distance, but it couldn't be further from the truth. A Sigma female knows exactly how to manage her energy. She understands that not everyone deserves access to her time or her emotions, and she's selective about who she gives that energy to. She doesn't need to be available to everyone because she has learned that time alone is where her strength lies. It's where she recharges, where she connects with herself, and where she reflects on what truly matters in her life. People may not understand this, but it's okay. The truth is, a Sigma female doesn't need others' validation or approval to know she's enough. She already understands her worth, and that makes others uncomfortable. They can't comprehend why she doesn't need constant social interaction to feel validated. They want to label her as aloof or distant because it's easier for them to accept than the reality that she's simply choosing to protect herself, to be in control of her own energy, to set boundaries, to choose to engage only when it's meaningful. This mindset challenges the typical narrative that everyone should be constantly social and constantly connected. They can't understand why she's not out there chasing attention or trying to fit in. But here's the thing. A Sigma female has no desire to fit in. She doesn't need to blend into the background to be accepted. She stands tall in her individuality, and this is where her power lies. The more she disconnects from people who drain her energy, the more she aligns herself with those who appreciate her for who she truly is. And this is what scares the people who try to put her down. They see a woman who's comfortable on her own, and they think there's something wrong with her because society has taught them that loneliness is a flaw. They see her strength and mistake it for weakness. They assume that because she doesn't crave attention or seek constant validation, she's cold or aloof. But the truth is, she's the one who truly knows herself. She knows that real growth comes from within, and she knows that spending time with herself is where her inner peace is found. She doesn't rely on others to make her feel whole. She doesn't need to be constantly surrounded by people to feel loved or valued. In fact, sometimes it's the opposite. The more time she spends with herself, the stronger she becomes. The more she invests in herself, the more she learns about who she really is. So when people try to put a Sigma female down by labeling her as cold or distant, they're just showing how little they understand about her. A Sigma female is not afraid to be alone. She's not afraid to stand apart from the crowd. And she certainly isn't afraid to protect her own peace. That's not aloofness, that's power. And it's a power that many will never understand. But that's okay. She doesn't need to explain herself to anyone. She knows exactly who she is and what she needs. And that's all that matters. Pause. If this resonates with you, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more empowering content like this. Let's move on to the next point. 2. They try to make her doubt her choices. You know what they do? They'll second-guess everything a Sigma female does, question her decisions like they know better. But a Sigma female doesn't need anyone's validation. Her choices are hers, and she sticks to them. It's the reality she faces every day. The world around her is constantly telling her that she should be doing things differently, that she should be more like everyone else, that she should seek advice, or better yet, take someone else's direction. They'll look at her decisions, whatever they may be, whether it's the way she chooses to live her life, the path she's taken in her career, or the relationships she nurtures, and try to impose their opinions, suggesting that she's doing things wrong. They may say things like, "Are you sure that's the right choice?" Or, "I think you should reconsider that." They act like they know what's best for her, like they can see her life better than she can see it herself. But here's the thing. These people don't understand a Sigma female. A Sigma female doesn't need anyone's validation because she has something they often lack: confidence in her own judgment. She trusts herself. She trusts her intuition. She's confident in the decisions she makes, and that's exactly what intimidates people. The truth is, a Sigma female has already thought things through. She has her reasons for everything she does, even if she doesn't feel the need to explain them to anyone. She doesn't follow the crowd, and she doesn't base her decisions on other people's expectations. She doesn't need external approval to move forward. Her choices are hers, and she sticks to them, no matter how many people try to convince her to change course. What others fail to realize is that a Sigma female isn't just making random decisions. She's calculated, deliberate, and intentional. She's not driven by what's popular or what others think she should do. She doesn't chase trends. She isn't looking for someone to pat her on the back and tell her she's on the right track. A Sigma female's decisions come from a place of self-awareness, wisdom, and a deep understanding of who she is and where she's going. And that's exactly why people are so quick to second-guess her. They're used to seeing others who follow the typical path, the path that's laid out by society, by expectations, by other people's opinions. But a Sigma female is different. She doesn't follow that path, and that's why it's so hard for others to understand her choices. They don't see what she sees. They don't understand the bigger picture. And so they try to undermine her decisions. But what they don't know is that a Sigma female isn't easily swayed. She doesn't need anyone else's approval because she's the one who's in control of her life. She's the one making the calls, not them. Her choices are a reflection of her inner strength and her ability to trust herself, even when others don't. It's not about arrogance, it's about confidence. It's not about being dismissive of other people's opinions. It's about knowing that no one knows her better than she knows herself. When others try to make her doubt her choices, they're only showing how little they understand. A Sigma female doesn't need to explain herself. She doesn't owe anyone an explanation for why she does what she does. And that's what makes her powerful. Her confidence in her own decisions is what sets her apart. While others are looking for external validation, she's secure in the choices she's made. She doesn't let anyone make her second-guess herself because she knows that her path is hers to walk, and she's the only one who can determine where it leads. So when they try to make her doubt her choices, they're wasting their time. A Sigma female doesn't falter. She doesn't change her mind because someone else says so. She sticks to her guns, and that's what makes her unstoppable. If you're enjoying this so far, leave a comment below and share your thoughts. Let's jump into the next one. 3. They talk about how she's too independent. They think a Sigma female needs someone to hold her hand, but the truth is, she's built for independence. She knows how to handle herself and doesn't rely on others to feel validated. That's a problem for some, but it's her power. To those who don't understand her, her independence can seem intimidating. It can seem like she's unapproachable or even cold, but that couldn't be further from the truth. It's not that she doesn't care about others or doesn't want meaningful connections. It's that she knows she doesn't need anyone to feel whole. She's comfortable in her own skin, confident in her own abilities, and perfectly content standing alone. This is something that a lot of people struggle to accept because, in today's world, we're taught to seek validation from others. We're told that success is measured by how much approval we can get from the people around us. But a Sigma female doesn't play by those rules. She doesn't chase applause, she doesn't need constant praise, and she doesn't seek anyone's approval to validate her worth. She knows that her worth comes from within, and that's a concept that a lot of people find hard to grasp. People will talk about how she's too independent because they're used to seeing others depend on the approval of their peers, family, or society at large. They expect her to seek reassurance from others or to bend to the expectations placed upon her, but she doesn't. She's carved out her own path, and she walks it with confidence. She has the ability to make decisions for herself, face challenges on her own, and solve problems without relying on others. And that's powerful. Some people see this as a threat. They see it as a problem because it challenges their own comfort zone. It forces them to question their own dependency on others. But the truth is, the Sigma female's power lies in her independence. It's what makes her stand out from the crowd. She doesn't need to be part of the herd to feel validated. She doesn't need to seek approval from everyone around her. She's content in her own company, confident in her own choices, and secure in her own identity. This level of self-reliance can be hard for some people to understand because we live in a world that often values collaboration and social cohesion over independence. People are used to seeing strength in numbers, in groups, in partnerships. But a Sigma female has discovered that her strength doesn't come from others, it comes from herself. Her ability to thrive on her own terms is what makes her so resilient. She doesn't need anyone to tell her that she's capable or that she can achieve her goals. She knows that already. It's not that she doesn't value relationships, but she doesn't define herself by them. She's not dependent on anyone to feel complete. She knows that she is enough as she is. This is why people get confused. They can't wrap their heads around why someone would choose to stand alone when they could be surrounded by others. They see her independence as a weakness, a lack of connection, or a sign that she's too tough to let anyone in. But they're wrong. Her independence is her strength, it's her power. It allows her to make decisions that are true to herself, rather than decisions based on what others want or expect. And it's exactly this power that makes her unstoppable. When she sets her mind to something, there's no one who can sway her, no one can make her doubt herself, and no one can convince her that she needs anything more than what she already has. She's built for independence, and that's what gives her the courage to walk her own path, to create her own success, and to live life on her own terms. 4. They think she's cold-hearted. When a Sigma female doesn't cater to everyone's emotions, people call her heartless. But what they don't realize is that she's got a heart that's just selective about who it gives to. She's not here to babysit anyone's feelings. The truth is, a Sigma female understands the importance of boundaries. She knows that not every person deserves her emotional energy. She's learned through experience that not everyone will treat her with the respect and care she gives to others, and because of that, she chooses who she opens up to carefully. People may mistake this as coldness, but in reality, it's self-preservation. She doesn't have time or energy to constantly cater to others' moods, especially when they're not giving her the same level of care in return. She's got a strong sense of who deserves her attention and who doesn't. When people accuse her of being heartless, they're really just uncomfortable with the fact that she's not wasting her emotional energy on people who haven't earned it. In a world where people are often taught to be overly empathetic and put others' needs ahead of their own, a Sigma female doesn't buy into that. She's not here to sacrifice her own well-being for people who don't care about her. She knows that being true to herself means protecting her emotional space, and that's exactly what she does. It's not that she doesn't care about people, it's that she knows that caring for others doesn't mean always saying yes to them or always being available when they need someone. She understands that her energy is valuable, and she's not just going to give it away to anyone who asks for it. She's selective about where she invests her time, emotions, and effort. The people who call her cold-hearted are often the ones who expect her to prioritize their needs above her own, to drop everything when they need her, and to constantly check in on their feelings. But a Sigma female doesn't let anyone control her emotional state. She's learned the hard way that people who demand emotional labor without offering it in return are not worth her time. Her heart is big, but it's not going to be wasted on people who take her kindness for granted. She's not here to babysit anyone's feelings, and that's something that others often fail to understand. When they expect her to be constantly attuned to their emotions, they miss the point entirely. She knows that her worth doesn't come from being a caretaker for everyone else. Her worth comes from her ability to stand strong on her own, to be self-sufficient, and to give her time and energy only to those who deserve it. In fact, the people who truly matter to her are the ones who appreciate her for who she is, not for what she can do for them. These are the people who understand that a Sigma female's love and care are valuable and earned, not freely given to everyone who crosses her path. She doesn't need to prove that she's loving or caring by overextending herself. Instead, she shows her love and loyalty in ways that matter, in ways that are meaningful, and in ways that build genuine, respectful relationships. The truth is, the Sigma female isn't cold-hearted. She's just emotionally intelligent. She knows that not everyone deserves a piece of her heart, and she's okay with that. She's not here to be a doormat or a caretaker for others who don't value her. She's here to protect her energy and her peace, and anyone who truly knows her understands that. If you haven't already, subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more videos like this. Let's keep going. 5. They try to label her as antisocial because a Sigma female's not out here chasing every social trend or partying every weekend. They assume she's antisocial. Wrong. She's just about quality over quantity, choosing to spend time with people who actually matter. To a Sigma female, real connections are rare and precious. She doesn't waste her time trying to fit into groups or seek validation from people who don't add value to her life. She'd rather spend time alone or with a select few who truly understand her. And that's what makes her different. While others might be constantly trying to fit in or be accepted by everyone around them, a Sigma female doesn't feel the need to do so. She doesn't care about keeping up with the latest social trends or attending every social event because she knows that true fulfillment comes from deeper, more meaningful interactions, not from superficial connections. When people call her antisocial, they miss the point entirely. They fail to understand that it's not about avoiding people. It's about choosing where to invest her time and energy. A Sigma female doesn't want to waste her time with shallow conversations or fleeting acquaintances. She's selective about the people she surrounds herself with, and that's a strength, not a weakness. She understands that being surrounded by people who don't truly know or appreciate her can be more isolating than being alone. It's not about being antisocial, it's about being true to herself. A Sigma female doesn't need a large circle of friends to feel validated. She doesn't need constant social interaction to feel like she belongs. Instead, she builds strong, meaningful relationships with the people who respect her individuality and share her values. These are the people who truly matter to her, and she doesn't waste time on anyone else. It's easy for people to label her as antisocial because they don't understand why she chooses not to participate in the same social activities or follow the same trends. They don't get that for a Sigma female. It's not about being anti-anything. It's about protecting her peace and being intentional with how she spends her time. And when she chooses to be alone or with a select few, it's not a sign of weakness or loneliness. It's a reflection of her strength, and her ability to stand alone without feeling the need to prove herself to anyone. A Sigma female knows that being socially active all the time doesn't equate to fulfillment or happiness. What matters to her is having deep, meaningful connections, not just having a lot of people around. It's quality over quantity, and she's perfectly fine with that. She doesn't need to conform to society's idea of what socializing should look like. She knows that her value isn't determined by how many people know her or how often she's out and about. What matters is the strength of the relationships she builds, the time she invests in things that align with her values, and the way she protects her own mental and emotional space. So, when people call her antisocial, they don't realize that she's actually more socially aware than they are. She's more intentional with how she spends her time, and she's not afraid to embrace solitude if it means protecting her inner peace. She's not antisocial, she's selective about where and how she spends her energy, and that's a powerful trait. In a world that constantly pushes the idea that more is better, that being constantly social is the key to happiness, a Sigma female is content to stand apart and choose her own path. She knows that she's in control of her life, and that's why people who try to label her as antisocial just don't understand her. They see her choices as a flaw, when in fact, they're what make her stronger and more self-aware. 6. They attempt to break her confidence, but no matter how much they try to throw shade or undermine a Sigma female, she stands tall. Confidence isn't something people can just take from her. It's built on years of self-belief and growth. People can try all they want to make a Sigma female doubt herself, but it will never work. They can criticize her choices, question her abilities, or make nasty remarks about her achievements, but they won't break her. Confidence doesn't come from external sources, and that's something they don't understand. They expect her to crumble when they throw their insults her way, but the reality is, she's built a foundation that's unshakable. It's not arrogance. It's the quiet certainty that comes from knowing her worth. She doesn't need anyone to validate her, because she's already validated herself. When people try to tear her down, they only reveal their own insecurities. They might throw hurtful comments her way, but they don't realize that every word they say only fuels her fire. A Sigma female doesn't need external praise because she's learned to rely on herself. She's learned to be her own biggest supporter, and that's the real source of her power. It's the belief in herself that gives her the strength to push forward, no matter how many people try to make her feel small. People often expect her to get discouraged by their attempts to bring her down, but the truth is, their words have no power over her. She's not interested in the opinions of people who don't know her true value. She knows who she is, and that's what keeps her moving forward. Her confidence isn't something that's built overnight. It's a result of overcoming obstacles, facing adversity, and constantly growing into the person she was always meant to be. Every challenge she faces only strengthens her resolve, and every setback becomes a lesson that makes her more resilient. And that's exactly what scares people. They see a woman who doesn't need anyone's approval, who doesn't flinch in the face of criticism, and who continues to rise no matter what they throw at her. They can't understand how she does it. They think that by attacking her, they can make her doubt herself, but in reality, all they do is show her how much she's grown. They can try to break her down, but they'll never succeed. A Sigma female is untouchable because her confidence isn't fragile. It's rooted in her own sense of self-worth, and that's something no one can take away from her. People think they can chip away at her confidence with their negativity, but they don't realize that every attempt only strengthens it. It's like trying to break down a wall with a feather. It's just not going to work. The more they try to bring her down, the more she rises. And the beauty of a Sigma female's confidence is that it's not loud or in your face. It's quiet, unshakable, and built on the knowledge that she's enough, just as she is. She doesn't need to shout about her accomplishments or make others feel inferior to prove her worth. She knows who she is, and that's all that matters. The world can throw its insults, its doubts, and its negativity her way, but none of it sticks. A Sigma female doesn't let the opinions of others dictate her value. and that's why they fail to break her. Her confidence is a reflection of her inner strength, and that's something they can't touch. When they try to undermine her, they only expose their own weakness. A Sigma female stands tall, knowing that no one can take away the belief she has in herself. It's her secret weapon. Confidence isn't about being perfect or flawless. It's about knowing that even when you stumble, you get back up and keep moving forward. And that's exactly what a Sigma female does every time. No matter how many people try to break her, she keeps rising. 7. They try to put her in a box. They don't understand her. They can't label her as the leader, the follower, or even the rebel. She's all of those things and none of those things. She's herself, and no one can confine her to one label. The world loves to categorize people, to box them into neat little boxes where they can be understood and controlled. But a Sigma female doesn't fit into any of those boxes. She's not interested in playing by society's rules or conforming to someone else's expectations. And that's what makes her so difficult to understand. People try to put her in a box because they want to know how to deal with her, how to figure her out, how to predict her next move. But she's not interested in being predictable. She's not interested in fitting into anyone's predefined mold. A Sigma female is multidimensional, complex, and constantly evolving. She's not just one thing, and that's what makes her so powerful. When people try to put her in a box, they fail because they can't see the whole picture. They see her as one thing, either too strong or too detached, too quiet or too outspoken. But they fail to understand that she is all of those things at once. She's a leader when she needs to be, a follower when it makes sense, and a rebel when the situation calls for it. She doesn't need to fit into any of the traditional roles society has set for women. She doesn't need to be the picture-perfect image of what a woman is supposed to be. She gets to define herself. People will try to label her, to judge her, to make her fit into their narrow understanding of who she is. But they'll always be wrong because they don't know the real her. The Sigma female is fluid, unpredictable, and powerful precisely because she refuses to be confined. The problem is, most people can't handle that. They want certainty, stability, and control, but a Sigma female doesn't give them that. She's unpredictable, and that's exactly what makes her so intriguing and powerful. When they try to put her in a box, they're really just showing how little they understand her complexity. A Sigma female doesn't conform to anyone's expectations, and that scares them. She doesn't need approval from the world to be who she is. She doesn't need anyone to tell her what her worth is. She's created her own definition of who she is, and that's what makes her different. When they try to label her as one thing, they're really just showing how limited their understanding is. A Sigma female knows that she's more than what anyone sees on the surface. She's constantly evolving, growing, and redefining herself. The beauty of a Sigma female is that she doesn't need to be understood by everyone, and she doesn't need to fit into anyone's narrow expectations. She gets to choose who she is and how she shows up in the world, and that's exactly what makes her unstoppable. People try to put her in a box because they want to control her, but the truth is they can't. She's too complex, too powerful, and too free to be contained. When they try to put her in a box, they only show their own limitations. A Sigma female doesn't need to be understood by everyone because she understands herself. She's constantly evolving, learning, and growing, and that's exactly why they can't keep up. She's not confined by anyone's expectations or anyone's labels. She is who she chooses to be, and that's what makes her so powerful. When they try to box her in, they only expose their own inability to see her for the multifaceted person she truly is. A Sigma female is not meant to be defined, and that's exactly why she can't be stopped. 8. They expect her to follow the rules. But rules? A Sigma female makes her own. They can't fathom why she doesn't play by the conventional standards, but that's because she's rewriting the rules, and that's why they fail. They just can't keep up. A Sigma female doesn't need to adhere to society's expectations or follow the well-worn path that everyone else walks. While the world operates on a set of unspoken rules about how to behave, what to wear, who to associate with, and how to achieve success, a Sigma female looks at those rules and says, "Not for me." She doesn't need approval from anyone. She doesn't need to follow trends or do what's expected. She's confident in making her own way. She knows that the rules people follow are not always in line with what's best for her. They often limit people to narrow choices, pushing them into boxes that are too small for the kind of life she wants to live. And when they try to impose those rules on her, she simply steps outside the lines. This independence is what makes her unique and unshakable. While others are stuck in the pattern of conformity, a Sigma female is out there doing things on her own terms, creating a path that is authentic to her. People can't stand this. They can't understand why she doesn't just follow the script. They try to put pressure on her, to get her to bend, to make her feel like she has to play by the same set of rules everyone else does. But she doesn't buckle. Instead, she stands tall, confident in her decisions, and makes her own set of rules as she goes. And that's when the real problem starts. People start to see her as rebellious, as difficult, or as a troublemaker. They see someone who refuses to follow orders or adhere to what's normal, and they don't know what to make of her. But that's the beauty of a Sigma female. She doesn't need to follow orders. She doesn't need to fit in with the crowd. She's always thinking for herself, always finding ways to challenge the status quo. And the more people try to push her into a mold, the more she pushes back. It's not about being difficult, it's about being true to herself. The rules that the world tries to enforce on her are too limiting, too small for her big dreams and ambitions. So she doesn't play by them. She rewrites them. And in doing so, she creates a life that's on her terms. People can criticize her for not following the rules, but the truth is, they just don't understand the kind of freedom she's creating for herself. They're still stuck in a mindset that says rules are necessary for success, that everyone must follow the same steps to get to the top. But a Sigma female knows better. She knows that success doesn't come from conforming to society's standards. It comes from believing in your own path, having the courage to walk it, and knowing that you're creating something that's uniquely yours. When they tell her to follow the rules, she smiles and walks the other way. And that's why they fail. Because they can't keep up with someone who's constantly evolving and pushing the boundaries of what's possible. She's too bold, too confident, and too independent to be confined by their rules. The rules they want her to follow are just stepping stones in a journey she's already surpassed. So, while they try to put her back in line, she keeps moving forward, creating her own way, and proving that the only rules that matter are the ones she writes for herself. And in the end, it's that rebellious spirit, that refusal to follow the crowd, that will always make her unstoppable. She doesn't need the rules they set. She's already making her own. Look at the story of someone like Oprah, who was told she'd never be enough. People told her she wasn't capable, that she would never be successful, and yet she turned every no into fuel for her fire. Think about the countless women who've risen from the shadows, starting with nothing and building empires from scratch. They were told they couldn't make it, that they weren't good enough, but they didn't listen. No matter how much people tried to hold them back, they pushed through. They kept going, kept striving, kept working, proving that the very thing people saw as a weakness was actually their biggest strength. And guess what? It worked out pretty well for them. Every time someone tried to tell them they couldn't do something, they responded by doing it anyway, and doing it better than anyone could have imagined. That's the power of a Sigma female. When they try to break her down, to make her feel small, she doesn't crumble. No, she rises. Every single time she's knocked down, she gets back up stronger. The struggles, the criticism, the setbacks, all they do is add more strength to her resolve. She becomes more unstoppable with every challenge. And here's the truth about Sigma females. The very people who try to put them down are the ones who unknowingly give them the power to rise higher. They feed her determination. They provide the contrast she needs to show how capable, resilient, and strong she really is. Think about it. Every time someone tries to break her, they are building her resilience. Every time they tell her she can't, she proves them wrong. And she doesn't just prove them wrong. She does it in a way that elevates her to a level they couldn't even comprehend. This is the magic of a Sigma female. She doesn't allow anything to break her. Instead, she lets it build her. She turns every challenge into an opportunity to show her strength and her ability to keep going, no matter what. Whether it's the people who doubted her, the society that tried to define her, or the obstacles that were put in her path, she doesn't let any of it stop her. She rises stronger, more focused, more unstoppable, and more herself than ever before. She doesn't need the world's approval, and she doesn't need anyone to tell her that she's capable. She already knows she is. And that self-belief is what makes her unstoppable. The Sigma female doesn't need validation from anyone. She has learned to validate herself, to find her worth within herself. And no matter how many people try to tell her she can't, she keeps pushing forward. And you know what? That's exactly what makes her extraordinary. It's not that she's immune to setbacks. It's not that she never struggles. It's that she knows how to rise. She doesn't give up. And that's something people will never understand. When they try to break her down, all they do is feed her strength. So here's the truth. People will always try to put Sigma females down. They'll throw judgment, assumptions, and criticism her way. But guess what? A Sigma female doesn't need anyone's approval. She's already made it clear that she's more than enough. She doesn't need anyone to tell her that she's worthy or that she can do it. She's already done it. She's already proven herself. A Sigma female doesn't conform to society's expectations. She doesn't follow the rules that others set. She doesn't need to be like everyone else. And that's exactly why they fail. Every single time someone tries to hold her back, to put her down, to make her feel smaller, they fail. Because a Sigma female isn't about to let anyone else define her. She defines herself. She doesn't need validation from anyone because she's already validated herself. She doesn't need to fit into anyone's box or play by anyone's rules. She's perfectly content with the person she is, and that's why no one can touch her. The people who try to put her down, whether it's through criticism, judgment, or gossip, will always fail, because their words have no power over her. She's built on a foundation of self-belief, and that foundation is unshakable. No matter how many times they tell her she's not enough, she knows the truth. She is enough. She's more than enough. She's powerful, and nothing can take that away from her. A Sigma female doesn't need to prove herself to anyone. She's already proven everything she needs to prove to herself. And that's the strength she carries with her every single day. The more they try to push her down, the higher she rises. The more they try to break her, the stronger she becomes. The more they tell her she can't, the more she shows them that she can. And that's why they fail. Every single time. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, what's the biggest way someone has tried to put you down, and how did you rise above it? I'm so curious to hear your stories. Share your experiences, and let's keep this conversation going. Don't let anyone's negativity dim your light. Keep pushing forward and showing the world your strength. And if you loved this video, don't forget to check out the next one on empowering yourself, because we're just getting started. We're building each other up, and we're doing it together. Stay strong, stay independent, and never let them win. Sparkles.